Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra with me, Shal Bhatnagar, and this is Market Today, a show where we'll help you understand the closing trades on the special edition just after the exit poll outcome has come in, and you see your green screen all across the board. All the sectors of the Nifty are, buoyant in trade. The Nifty is hovering at 23,229. It's sprung back from the day's low again. A 700 point of a surge can be seen on this one. The Nifty Bank is now nearing 51,000 levels. Look at the kind of move that we are seeing, an almost 1,800 kind of a point of a surge on the Nifty Bank today. 3.6% higher is what the Nifty Bank is hovering at. Let's look at the top movers. Adani Ports remains the top mover, 10.3% higher. Power Grid, State Bank of India, 9% higher in ONGC, Adani Enterprises, Shriram Finance, BPCL. These are the top movers on the Nifty. In fact, all the stocks, barring just about 5-6 stocks that are now trading just flattish in trade or negative bias, rest of the stocks are still hovering up and all about. The Nifty PSU banking index is the top moving sectoral index, 8.2% higher in trade. Shell.
Sakshi, it's very difficult to pinpoint where exactly is the best action to be seen. There is such a crisis of plenty right there in front of our screens. But let me just point out two particular things. Sakshi, today's FII number will be worth watching for two reasons. Just look at the volumes. I'll request the PCR to fire State Bank of India. Needless to say, it's at a record high. More importantly, it's changed a digit. And Sakshi, it's the top traded counter. 4,900 crores worth of transactions that have happened. And what's the underlying theme that I'm noticing on today's market is the Modi premium getting more and more strong as far as the market is concerned. Out of the 15 top gainers on stock futures, 13 are PSU stocks, and 2 of them are actually Adani shares as well. Apart from that, Sakshi, the top 25 traded counters in terms of volumes are in the green. Out of top 25, there are 7 that have posted double-digit gains. So it's a blowout that's happening, ladies and gentlemen. And Sakshi, one more interesting data that I have, 3.1% rally on the Nifty was previously topped on 1st of Feb 2021. Wow. So this is a 3.5 year breakout, and when that rally started, it actually went on for 5 days, and the index added 1,400 points after the rally began. So the point I'm trying to make is, don't fret, and this is possibly the beginning of a very, very sharp uptick that we are going to see in the market. And it's really difficult what to point out, what not to, but 4 stocks, the Adani twins, Adani Power, Adani Ports and Adani Enterprises, all 3 of them are at record highs. There is a very strong move coming into Power Finance Corporation, RECL up in double digits, Gas Authority, and of course the oil marketing companies IOC, HPCL and BPCL. Business Today tracks 78 PSUs, ladies and gentlemen, for you. All 78, Sakshi, are in the green. So it's hard to imagine a better starting note than this. And remember, things are going to get better. But I believe, Sakshi, Mr. Khemka is with us.
Yes, absolutely. Siddharth Khemka, Vice President, Head of Research at Motilal Oswal Financial Services, is with us. Siddharth, warm welcome. What a day to have you with us on Business Today Television. Record highs all across. What are you buying?
Good afternoon and congratulations to all the viewers for the record market. And I think as Sailji was pointing out, this is just the beginning of a new bull run in the market. The confidence of investors across, be it domestic investors, be it retail investors, be it the FIs, we're just waiting for this event to kind of get confirmed, and tomorrow is the D-Day where the actual numbers will come. Today we are reacting just to the exit polls, and our expectation is that more or less the actual numbers should be in line with what the exit polls have highlighted. So it will be only a confirmation, and this gives a strong leg up to the government policies towards the economic growth and a policy continuity. That is something that is very important. If you look at the India story, that continues to do well, be it on the macro front with the 9 quarter high GDP growth, record high GST collections. We have the upcoming monsoon, which is expected to be pretty strong this year. And you have the consistent delivery from the corporates in terms of earnings growth. Right after the COVID, we have seen strong delivery quarter after quarter. So that puts India in kind of a Goldilocks situation where everything is looks like very positive, and you have a very strong domestic inflows to support the market. And despite FIs being sellers, the last couple of months market have been able to make that new high. So yes, suggestion is to look at the government stocks, or what we call as the NDA stocks, and these includes the financials, the capex theme, which includes your capital goods, infrastructure, defense, railways, power, utilities, and to balance it out, you have the consumer and the telecom space. So that's a kind of basket that we are suggesting investors to look at and buy in today's market.
Okay. Siddharthji, please continue with us. And one point I'd like to make, if you're having a party in Mumbai post markets close today, because I know for a fact that Motilal Oswal Securities has been long on the market for a very long time, then please do not forget to send an invite for Sakshi and me. We will come and party with you and find out the next 10 multi-baggers that you have in mind. Please make a list of those 5. Meantime, what we'll do is we'll introduce Mr. Ruchit Jain. He's the lead research analyst at 5paisa.com and a very avid watcher of both technical and derivative charts. Ruchit ji, good afternoon. आपको पार्टी में बुलाएं ना बुलाएं, आप कुछ खाएंगे पिएंगे तो है नहीं, लेकिन आप पार्टी कीजिए मार्केट में और बताइए क्या होने वाला है अगले 1 घंटे में.
Yes, very good afternoon to everyone. Definitely a day worth partying, as you rightly said. Markets में तो trend, there is no doubt about the trend, that the broader trend continues to remain positive. And what I have been hearing from a lot of market participants since morning, that market is already up, कि already चल चुका है तो अभी क्या करना है. So if I look at a bit of historical data, if you see, then a market started this uptrend in the month of almost April 2023. It rallied one-sided up move without any meaningful correction till mid of January, wherein the markets made a high of around 22,150. From the mid of Jan to mid of May, if you look at that period, then markets already have been forming new record highs Nifty, but no, it has been largely in a range. Even during mid-May, our markets was around the 22,300, 400 mark. So 22,150 in the mid of Jan and 22,300 in the mid of May. This indicates that this last 4 months have been more of a time-wise correction, and there are usually 2 types of corrective phases in the markets. One is time correction, when one is price correction. And time corrections usually happens whenever the broader trend is very strong. So I think this up move that which we have seen in in today's trading session, I think it's just a resumption of the uptrend that we have witnessed last year. So our markets have went through that time-wise corrective phase. So don't expect or don't I think one should not interpret that markets are too high at current levels to enter. So I think we have done with the time-wise corrective phase, and I think hence we should see a continuation of this uptrend. So very positivity on the data as well. We already spoke last week about, I think, that FIS data, 12-14% long short ratio historically have been on the very lower side, and whenever such ratios are there, short covering comes, that lifts the markets higher. So I think that short covering would be another that short covering would help add fuel to this rally. So I think the markets are likely to continue further. Now, what levels can one expect? If you look at retracements that of the previous correction, first level is coming around 23,400, which is almost there today, and a continuation upon this should help us. The market takes towards 23,700. So we expect Nifty to rally towards 23,700 very soon.
23,700 coming on the Nifty, and probably the stocks that will drive the Nifty higher is the top boys and including Reliance Industries, 3,023 right now. It's almost a 5.7% surge on Reliance Industries, and the stock has not only crossed I think it's across the earlier high,
Yes,
and
record high.
3024 is the new 52-week high for Reliance Industries right now. 3022 right now for you. What will you say on this one, Ruchit?
Yeah, so I think no, one of the heavyweight which no, many times take the leadership in taking the markets higher. After this sideways move or consolidation of about 1.5 month, today again we have seen the stock giving an breakout of that consolidation, that too supported by good volume. So signs are very positive. A continuation of the uptrend should take the stock towards 3150 from a short-term perspective. So it remains quite positive. Volumes are also good if you look at today's trading session along with the price up move.
Absolutely. I think it's about 2,900 crores that the volume is there on Reliance. Let me just get the number for you. Yes, that's the volume that's coming in, and of course, it's at a multi-month high. Let's look at Sakshi, the volume breakers in Nifty. That will give you an idea about how this trend is. Okay, SBI 3.8 times. You have Adani Ports 3.7 times. Power Grid 2.6 times. I'm talking about the 5-day average. And of course, surprise, surprise, Shriram Finance. I haven't noticed that stock quite a while. 6.5% higher, and the volume is 2.6 times the 5-day trading average. Sakshi.
Absolutely. And we can't take eyes off the Nifty PSU banking index. Remember, 8,000 level has been breached for the Nifty PSU banking index. It's up by 8.4% higher. That's the kind of move that it's coming in right now. 8.4% up right now. Mr. Khemka, PSU banks अभी और भी खरीद सकते हैं क्या इस तेजी के बाद?
जी बिल्कुल साक्षी, अगर आप देखें तो वी हैव बीन वेरी पॉजिटिव ऑन द एंटायर बैंकिंग स्पेस, एंड आई थिंक विद इन दैट एसबीआई क्लियरली लीड्स द स्पेस. एंड what we have observed in the last few years is that the PSU banks have led from the front in terms of earnings growth, in terms of improvement in the overall balance sheet. So if you look at the ROAs have improved drastically from sub 0.5% to now above 1%, and this is the sole reason for the re-rating in the stocks within the PSU. So SBI continues to be our preferred pick within the PSU bank pack. Q4 बहुत ही strong numbers थे, NIs में 3% की वृद्धि हुई. ओवरऑल हमें लगता है कि जो आगे चलकर जो ग्रोथ रहेगी वो काफी स्ट्रॉन्ग 20 से 25% अर्निंग्स ग्रोथ रहेंगे, और रिटर्न रेशियोज भी काफी इंप्रूव होंगे. तो पॉजिटिव व्यू एसबीआई पे बना रहेगा.
Okay, there is one interesting thought process in mind. Actually, remember we are moving into the RBI credit policy later this week on Thursday. So a lot of banks are actually, jumping in the run up to that credit policy. And the fact that 2 or 3 very strong macro numbers have come in over the last week or so. Remember, all of last week the Nifty was down for 5 sessions out of 6. So those numbers are yet to be reflected in the market. Then of course this strong dividend payout from the RBI actually pointing to the health of the banking sector, as Siddharth points out. And this blowout that you mentioned, what's the percentage rise on the index? I saw it in the morning, 8%. What is it now?
8.4% right now.
Okay. And let's just look at one interesting data, Sakshi, in this one. Within PSU banks, okay, yes. Look at Central Bank, top gainer, 11% higher. 8 crore shares have been traded, 8.39 crore shares, which is 5 times the 5-day average. Bank of Baroda 4.5 times the 5-day average, and of course a digit change happening in SBI, now above 900. There is absolutely no doubt in the mind we'll have a digit change in Bank of Baroda also, which is also at a record high. And taking it quietly away are the housing finance companies, Siddharji, LIC Housing and PNB Housing. Any view that you would have on that space?
Yes, so we like both of them. I think with the strong growth in the real estate segment, the housing finance companies are also doing well, and both of them have kind of posted sharp recovery in the business, especially if you look at PNB Housing Finance. They have restructured their business model, prioritized the retail segment, and have reduced the corporate loans. Overall, the mix for corporate loans have come down to 4% from earlier 21%. On back of that, we have seen the credit rating agencies upgrading PNB Housing Finance rating in the last couple of months, and hence so valuations are comfortable. ROAs we are expecting to improve to almost 2.5% by FY26. So that continues to remain a preferred pick, a restructuring-led recovery theme within the housing finance theme. So PNB Housing is something that we like, and we have a positive view.
Okay, so that's the housing finance companies. Let's also extend it to the entire PSU basket that's been in the thick of action. So it's the energy names that are really rallying in trade. GAIL is now the top mover as far as the public sector names are concerned. It's 12.5% higher. It's also the top mover in the F&O space as well. REC PFC we've discussed in the morning as well. Power Grid, Concor is moving up higher. NTPC, HPCL, you have ONGC. So the entire energy basket is in the thick of action right now. What would you really choose from these energy names for a fresh buy right now, Rujit?
No, overall the sectoral trend definitely continues to remain positive, in which from the PSU basket, two stocks that I think from current levels also can give good returns. One is Concor, where a series of high top, high bottom structures have taken place, price up moves supported by very good volume. The stock has potential to rally towards 1250 to 1280 range in the near term. So I think this is one of the stock which can do well. And another pick from a bit of a positional perspective would be ONGC. If you look at the price move, then we witnessed a good uptrend till the month of February. But since February, the stock has gone into some time-wise correction within an uptrend, in which the 100-day exponential moving average, which technically seen as a good medium-term support, is still intact. So here also, I think it's of course not a high beta name which moves very fast, but slow and gradual up move towards 303 first, followed by positional a bit midterm targets around 350 would be expected in ONGC. So risk reward ratio is much favorable to go fresh to make fresh longs in ONGC here as well. But as I said, it's not a high beta name, so no expect a good up move from a 6 months perspective.
The other thing I just wanted to point out in ONGC, Sakshi, is that globally crude oil prices have dipped. And that's a negative correlation that you have with ONGC. It rises in sync with those moves globally. And the other point I'd like to make, ladies and gentlemen, you have to look at stocks, whatever be your choice, in the long within the PSU basket or outside, which are making record highs. See, the market is at a record high, and you have to choose momentum in stocks that are rising faster than the market. That is where relative safety is. If the stock that you are trying to buy or trying to trade is lower than what the value of the Nifty was last Friday, I think your selection of stocks needs to improve dramatically. Siddharthji, coming to you, I am sure today you are getting a lot of calls saying कि भाई रह गए क्या करें. There is this feeling of missing out this lovely rally that is right there in front of you. What do you suggest to them? क्या करना चाहिए अब?
नहीं बिल्कुल सर, देखिए we have been getting these calls for last couple of days in anticipation of the volatility because of the elections. So what we had suggested is we had moved a large portion towards large caps away from the mid caps, where the valuations were a bit on the expensive side. And within large caps also, if you see, there was a lot of comfort in some of these names where, so what we are suggesting even today is that to go in for this basket of stocks, the high beta, the capex theme, and to balance it out with some of the consumer and telecom names that will give some balance to the portfolios. And we are just suggesting, given the sharp jump today, at least to start with 25-30% of the portfolio investment today, and over the next few days and weeks we can deploy more funds.
Okay. Siddharth, also I'll understand from you for the pockets which have not performed. Do you think you will be putting in incrementally more funds into those pockets in the hopes that at least in the next leg of the rally, those are the ones that will outperform? Banks, for example, especially the private sector banks, HDFCs, ICICIs, Axis Banks of the world. Would you also be penciling in some of the biggest IT names in that fray? FMCG that started to show some move in the last 10 days. Will it continue? These three pockets, how are you approaching?
So, Sakshi, FMCG is the preferred name within the three segments that you said because the valuations have been comfortable. They have not participated in the market recently. If you look at some of the commentaries post Q4, several companies have highlighted how the rural demand is picking up. For example, Dabur clearly said that rural for the first time in the last 2.5 years, the growth has outpaced the urban. So urban continues to grow at a steady pace, but the rural picking up is a big factor for FMCG companies. And with monsoon expected to be good this year, we are expecting for a 6 months, at least for the next 6 months, a good play can be done in the FMCG space. Within the banking space, we are liking some of the large corporate ones. So SBI, ICICI, Axis are our preferred names, but again, from a 3 to 6 months, we would expect stocks like Kotak, HDFC to continue to underperform. So only if someone is looking at a 3 year, 4 year horizon and is looking at a value stock, doesn't want to buy stocks which have run up, I think then only one should look at this pack. Not going in one go. There are quarters where they will continue to report weak numbers, and that will be opportunity to accumulate. Similar view is for IT. The overall view on IT right now is an kind of an equal weight or a neutral rating, you can say. Near-term weakness continues to remain high. The headwinds in terms of the discretionary spends in US, Europe, that continues. The only fact that is positive is the very strong order book that these companies are sitting on, and the gradual transition into the digital, into the cloud, that is helping drive discretionary demand, especially for some of these IT services companies. If you look at some of these mid-cap IT products company, they continue to do well, although again, valuations are not that comfortable. So clearly avoiding these undervalued, you can say, banks and IT companies, preferences towards FMCG.
Okay, what we'll do, ladies and gentlemen, show you some actionable data points. Mr. Khemka is with us. He has spent a lot of time with Motilal Oswal Securities researching quality stocks. And Motilal Oswal Securities came out with a list of potential winners post this exit poll. We'll show the large caps and the small caps that we've discussed since morning. And then we'll request Siddharth to pick up two favorites. एक लार्ज कैप और एक स्मॉल कैप. सो सिद्धार्थ जी, फिल्टर पे फिल्टर लगाएंगे हम लोग. पहले आपको वो नाम दिखवा देते हैं जो आप ही की तरफ से आए हैं, और फिर आप ही से पूछेंगे कि इनमें सबसे अच्छा कौन सा है. सो लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, दीज आर पिक्स दैट मोतीलाल ओसवाल सिक्योरिटीज हैज picked after the exit poll data was known. So banks you see represented by one private sector and one largest SBI. Of course, SBI is doing phenomenally well. India's largest infrastructure company L&T, largest coal company Coal India, top SUV maker M&M, record high there. Adani Ports surged about 11% today. ABB, there's no stopping. HPCL and Hindalco. So these are the large cap picks that we have. Siddharth is nodding his head in agreement, and Sakshi will point out the mid cap ones, and then Siddharth will pick two favorites. Sakshi.
So the mid cap ones are Indian Hotels, Godrej Properties, Global Health and KEI Industries. Along with it, PNB Housing, Cello World and Kirloskar Oil are the stocks that MOFSL has picked out now. Siddharth, to you.
Yeah, so it's a difficult choice to pick one of them. मतलब बहुत सिंपल में बोले तो कोई भी माँ को अगर आप पूछो तो दो बच्चों में से फेवरेट बताना बहुत मुश्किल है, but still I will do that. Within the large caps, I would say go with an SBI in the banking space and Larsen in the capital goods infrastructure space. That will give you a good balance. Within the mid-cap space, on the real estate side, either look at Godrej Properties or a KEI Industries, which is a play on the real estate. and B, you take one of the again capital goods company like a Kirloskar oil engine. That is something that we believe would continue to do well on back of the improving demand for the capital goods companies, or a PNB housing, again you can say play on the retail housing space. So those are some of the picks that one can look at.
सो साक्षी, दिस इज ट्रूली अ बुल मार्केट. हम लोगों ने तो डर डर के दो की उम्मीद करी थी, एक लार्ज कैप और मिड कैप. दयालु हैं इतने प्रभु कि तीन आपको लार्ज कैप मिली हैं. लार्जेस्ट पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक, लार्जेस्ट इंफ्रा कंपनी, and the best probably the balance sheet in the real estate space, which is Godrej Properties. KEI Industries, ladies and gentlemen, is a wire maker. केबल बनाते हैं, and the stock has already touched 4 digits, 4,000 rupees के ऊपर है. जी हाँ, बिल्कुल ठीक. Kirloskar oil, surprise 2 years ago I remember this stock at 200 rupees. This is screaming at 1,300 now. And of course PNB housing. रुचित जी, इन 6 स्टॉक्स में से आपका कोई एक फेवरेट?
I think within this space, if I choose, then Kirloskar oil looks very interesting on chart because the stock has been forming this high top high bottom structure. The trend seems to be very strong. Volume patterns भी देखेंगे तो काफी strong है. So I think यहाँ पे uptrend का continuation हो सकता है. And if one is looking from a trading perspective, then I think stop loss below 1190 should be good enough for potential targets around 1500.
Okay, Ruchit ji, before we let you go, what happened to that much wanted FII short covering? हम लोग तो सोच रहे थे 1000-1200 पॉइंट निफ्टी ऊपर बढ़ेगा. क्या वो कल के लिए इंतजार कर रहा है?
So, see, two scenarios are possible. So, the entire FIS short positions which are there, they need not be naked short positions. Some of them would be hedged against the portfolio. And historically, we have seen that whenever there are such huge amount of shorts, it's not necessary that they get covered overnight, right? So, FIS can form fresh long positions just to reduce that net short positions. So, I think that is one of the possibility would happen. So, rather than looking at a big short covering data, what I am expecting is that fresh long formations would be there from the FIS front, which would bring down that that long short ratio of 12-14%, which we have seen. That would get covered. So I think much of that positions could be to hedge the portfolio rather than naked short positions, and hence no, it's not necessary that the entire shorts would be removed in 1 or 2 trading sessions. If there are losses in those future segment, then that portfolio gains would be there in front of that. So slowly and gradually we would see that short covering, but not necessarily in 1 or 2 days only.
Okay. Ruchit and Siddharth, both of you have been bullish about the market, but there is one question that is worrying all the investors right now. 700 points we've already seen today, exit polls. Tomorrow is when we get the final numbers. कल अगर 400 आता है तब क्या होगा? अगर 350 आता है निफ्टी पर तब क्या होगा? अगर 300 आता है तब क्या होगा? Ruchit, first to you.
So I think irrespective of the number, one thing is certain that markets would like if the same government continues. So until we see कि ऐसे में कुछ बदलाव हो जाए कि some ups and downs happen, which is very unlikely, then only markets would react very negatively. Otherwise 20-25 seats up and downs, I don't think market would mind that.
Okay. Siddharth, आपका क्या view है?
It's a very pertinent question, especially after the sharp run up. अगर देखिए 350-400 के बीच में आता है तो it is likely mostly discounted for, and market should continue the uptrend momentum. जैसे सैल जी ने भी पूछा कि अगर FI position long create कर रहे हैं या short covering, either ways the positioning for the market is bullish. It looks very unlikely that BJP and NDA will come to that 300 mark, which was the fear. If that were to come again, there could be some profit booking in the near term. But again, as Ruchit said, कि government तो अगर NDA की बनेगी, and that is what the market is hoping for and looking for. So long term जो positivity है, that will continue. So I would only suggest that अगर short term में थोड़ी भी profit booking आती है, that is only an opportunity to add to the existing portfolios, not to miss the long term bullish trend that is going to emerge over the next few years. So शॉर्ट टर्म की मंदी के चक्कर में लॉन्ग टर्म की तेजी को मत मिस करिए.
ये एक ऐसी ज़बरदस्त लाइन है सिद्धार्थ जी, जिससे आपकी जो बाज़ार में पकड़ और मजबूती है वो दर्शाती है. अक्सर यही होता है कि इंसान ये सोचता है बाज़ार जब करेक्ट होगा ना तब हम लोग अंदर आएंगे. पता है टाइमिंग करते हैं बाज़ार की. जब 19,000 के नीचे आएगा ना तभी लेंगे, और उस चक्कर में क्या हो जाता है, सत्यानाश, क्योंकि आप अपवर्ड मोमेंटम को कभी प्रिडिक्ट नहीं कर सकते। 6 दिन बाजार नीचे गिरा था पिछले पूरे हफ्ते, और अब देखिए क्या सूरत हाल है, 700 पॉइंट ऊपर, बाजार बंद होने में अभी भी 29 मिनट हैं। एक बार और दोहरा दीजिए सिद्धार्थ जी, उन लोगों के लिए जो इसकी बारीकी और इसकी अहमियत ना समझ पाए हों।
तो शॉर्ट टर्म मंदी के चक्कर में लॉन्ग टर्म तेजी मत मिस करिए। मार्केट थोड़ा बहुत करेक्ट हो सकता है, मगर ये लॉन्ग टर्म बहुत बड़ा बुलिश ट्रेंड हम आगे देखेंगे नेक्स्ट 3-4 साल में।
Okay, wonderful. On that wonderful note, thank you so much, Siddharth, for being with us on this show and helping us with your wonderful views for our viewers. And we will have you back very soon on Market Today and on Business Today Television now, post the final results as well. We'll now have other guests also joining in. Let's welcome market expert Anand Tandon now is with us. Anand ji, good afternoon. Thank you so much for taking the time out. From morning, we've been taking views from all the top market experts, understanding what do the exit polls mean for the markets, what will the final results mean for the markets. What is your own sense now? Are we done with the rally yet, or tomorrow again we will be moving up much further from here?
So daily is a difficult prediction to make, so you have to give me the opportunity to actually express a view which is slightly longer term than one day. From the point of view of where we are positioned, I think the markets are in fine fettle, and basically the fear that you had that there could be any change in policy, etc., is now out of the way. Now the only question is whether there can be a policy which can be self-destructive. I mean, for example, if you were to make changes in tax regime, especially make it more, tax the capital markets more, that could actually be a negative. But otherwise, I think you are really expecting to see more of the same. And from that point of view, the government has been investing in building up infrastructure, and we would expect to see that continue. So most of the themes that were there, let's say a week ago, will continue to remain as dominant themes. The only theme that changed from here on is the hope that, given the fact that we are predicting a decent monsoon, the consumption which has been lagging in the Indian market will actually begin to pick up. And some of the other issues that the government had done, which is, for example, stopped the changing of oil prices in the market because of elections, etc., will go back to being opened up. So therefore, energy companies will be able to freely price their product all over again within a range. So from those perspectives, some of the newer sectors come into play, which is things like FMCG or consumer-related goods, and perhaps energy beyond what we've seen already. But otherwise, most of the themes remain the same. How far are we going to go in terms of the market? Anybody's guess. The earnings for the index next year is forecast to be now just about double digits, which is almost half of what it was in the year that has gone past. And I don't see that changing so much. So you're really looking at trying to figure out spots within the market. The index itself may not do a huge amount.
Namaskar, Anand ji, Shail Bhatnagar this side. What's really interesting is that, despite this 700-point burst, which is upon us almost in a euphoric state of the market, valuations of the Nifty and also, maybe the large cap indices hasn't gone above maybe 1 sigma as far as markets are concerned. So while we have a euphoric rally, valuations more or less are in sync with the long term averages. I don't see any pain point here. Given that background in mind, would you have a shopping list which you would want filled up as early as possible, or are you waiting for a dip?
So it's, like I said, I don't see a huge upside in the index itself, because while you are correct that the valuation of the index may not look overly expensive, it is not yet in bubble territory. That's largely because a whole lot of sectors which make up the index are actually low PE sectors. So, you don't expect to see ONGC trading at 30 times PE. So you would, and if, the oil and gas, the energy, the, some of the other sectors which are commodity based, etc., typically are quite a dominant part of the index. So therefore, it's not as if the index is not expensive. It's just that it doesn't look expensive when you keep in mind that many of the favorite stocks of the market today are trading at 65 times. So would you have a shopping list? I think always as an investor, you are looking for finding sectors which are relatively underpriced or opportunities which are relatively underpriced and have a reason to do well. So I've already told you that the key themes that I think can be added now are the hope that there will be a revival of capex, a private capex, that there will be a revival in the consumption demand. Both of those have been lagging in the recent past, and therefore the stocks, while they are somewhat expensive, given their history, may actually turn around and do better going forward, because the demand may hopefully pick up given the environment we are operating in. Is there a reason for you to jump in and buy tomorrow? I would think not. I think the results are now pretty much in the bag. I don't think we'll see any surprises there. So most of the information related to the elections is now with you, unless there are anything which changes dramatically tomorrow, which I think is a less than 1% chance. I think that's now behind, and what we have to look for is the government policies in the form of budgets, if that signals anything new.
Fair point. Before we welcome Mr. Brijesh Singh, let's just also look at the India VIX, Sakshi. Now down 15% at 20.87. Like I said, more than the 3.5% uptick on the Nifty. I find this a very pleasing number, that finally volatility is sort of slipping out of the system. And it'll be a surprise that in the morning this was at 20.59, now at 20.57. So, that was a 20% drop, I think you mentioned. Now it's just a 15% drop. Nevertheless, we have the India VIX behind us. That's the biggest relief that I can think of. Now, Brijesh Singh, senior technical analyst from Stock Axis, is with us for the last 20 minutes of trade. Namaste, Singh Saab. A very warm welcome to you, sir. And in this euphoric moments, do you think there are some technical charts that are still predicting an uptick for maybe tomorrow or the week later? Brijesh, that question was for you. I think, Mr. Singh, you are on mute. If you could just unmute yourself. Please continue.
I guess there is some issue. We will try and connect back to you, Brijesh ji. I think we'll just ask our PCR to sort out that audio issue. We are unable to hear you very clearly. We'll come back to you very, very shortly. Coming back to Anand sir, and Anand, I want to understand from you, of course, like you're saying, all eyes will be on the budget, all eyes will be on the policy reforms, everything will be long term now. It's better to forget the short term moves, both on either direction on the Nifty, but focus on what is going to be making money in the long term. Now, Modi 3.0 is penciled in. What's exactly you are saying right now? Would you be focusing on what are being called as the Modi stocks, the PSUs, defense, railways? Would you be focusing on them again, or would you be looking at value at this point in time, something which has not moved but has immense value in the third term of Modi Sarkar?
So that's more a style of personal investment. What kind of portfolio management style you use? Should you be buying more of something which is in momentum, or should you be buying something which hasn't moved? There is no single answer to that. But would I be doing buying more of the same? I think I'm not a momentum player. So to that extent, the answer is no. Whatever you have in your portfolio, you ride with it. You are in no hurry to actually exit because it's going up. But reality is that most of these stocks are actually trading at stratospheric valuation and are largely euphoric in terms of the valuations they are implying and the kind of growth rates that are implied in many of these. Does it mean that the growth rate will fall off? Not likely. I mean, defense, for example, I would imagine that the investments in defense will continue, and these companies will continue to show order books and growth for the next 5 years, 7 years maybe. And therefore, there is a sustainable reason to assume that these should be priced higher than what they were in the not so distant past. But that said, when you are looking at a company which is trading at 75, 80 times and has capabilities to grow only about 15% a year, which is what many of these companies will do, irrespective of how much the order book goes up by. I mean, just because you are, for example, a shipyard, you cannot actually double capacity over the next 1 month, 6 months, or even the next 2 years immediately just because you've got a bigger order. In fact, it would not be prudent to do so because you are finally facing a single user, single buyer kind of situation. So you will increase your capacity, but you will increase it gradually, which means that your growth rates will hover around 15-20%. Yes, the growth rates will sustain at that level for sure. But would you then buy a 17, 18%, 20% kind of growth rate company at 65 times? I don't know. Are there other stocks? Like I said, in the market itself, in the front line, for example, we've not seen much of an action in terms of the in terms of the banking sector, for example, especially the private sector banks. They've been laggards. So some of those sectors are certainly something which I think have to do well if the economy has to continue to move up.
Okay. So banks, within banks, would you be looking at, the underperforming HDFC Bank, ICICI Axis, or would you be looking at the stellar outperformers, PSU banks?
So I don't want to make singular comments on on individual companies, but basically what we are saying is that you have to look at companies which have two requirements. One, the fact that deposit growth has to be able to pick up, and therefore companies which are able to raise liability profiles are something that you really want to be in, because currently credit growth is not a problem. Deposit growth is. So those companies which are able to raise deposit growths are the ones that I would favor. And the second is that those which have a even kind of balance between consumer and industry, because finally it is industrial investment that you are really looking to drive the economy going forward. Consumer has been a great play in many of the sectors, so therefore you are looking at some of the industrial lending banks, which automatically brings in the larger PSUs. So I think by and large the segments are clear. The question is that which ones will actually do well in the near. Those are all tactical plays. Housing is another area, for example, which is one specialized field, very competitive. But many of the younger players in that are also doing quite well, and there you usually have a fairly decent level of credit quality. So that is another area which I think will be pushed both in terms of the government policies as well as in terms of the demand possibilities.
Okay. Mr. Tandon, in the valuation matrix that you follow, where value has precedence over growth and momentum, I'm sure the entire FMCG pack is residing there, as also the agrochemicals and some pharma as well. Given the fact that the monsoon is likely to be good, any picks that you would want to discuss in fast moving consumer goods and of course the fertilizer pack, maybe specialty chemicals?
So, I don't think that you can preclude growth versus, it's not really a growth versus value. It is how much are you paying for the growth. That to my mind is something you have to keep always in front of you, because otherwise you tend to then overpay too much in the euphoria. As I already mentioned, I think one of the key themes that is emerging now is the fact that consumption domestically has not really been picking up, and largely the rural area has been under stress. I would expect that if the monsoons are decent this year, and again, assuming that the government does go ahead and increase, for example, procurement prices or offers more plans for buying a wider variety of basket of agricultural products, as well as invest more in agricultural infrastructure, including irrigation, etc. You would look at means to raise farm income, and therefore, to that extent, consumption-based products are definitely good. And there are multiple ways of playing that. There is everything from the likes of Dabur and Hindustan Lever to the likes of two-wheelers, etc., all of whom will probably see an uptick. We've already seen an uptick in two-wheeler demand. I'm not enthused too much by the fact that you are still not reaching a level which is far higher than where you are before the COVID, and despite that, the market has already priced it significantly higher in terms of valuations. But that said, I think the problem areas in terms of lower demand, etc., seem to be receding somewhat, and it's likely it will do well going forward. Hopefully, also the lower end, as I said, of housing, etc., should give you an opportunity, because so far we have seen real estate really picking up at the high end and the ultra luxury place. We have to actually see a more sustainable lower end housing demand coming through for that industry to continue to do well.
Okay, understood. Apart from this, the other laggard has been the IT space, Mr. Tandon. How are you really looking at this space? Earnings have gone by, not too much of a disappointment, but the outlook is still very uncertain. Looking at the global scenario right now, do you still continue to see there will be enough and more pain to be seen at least for some more quarters before we see the final up move begin in the IT space?
Well, this sector is something which is a little more difficult to predict simply because of the fact that we are now facing technological changes which may have an impact in terms of the overall demand for outsourced services. So, for example, all the companies have been talking about the impact of AI not being too much because they'll be able to adapt to it. Sure, they'll be able to adapt to it, but the likelihood is that where you needed 10 people, you now need 2 because AI does a lot of the heavy lifting. If that is indeed the scenario, then the outsourcing that we are used to has to change considerably, and how it will change is not something that I'm able to forecast at this stage. Yeah. There are, however, other pockets within the IT space which are doing very well. For example, data centers is something which is growing very fast. We are having a lot of related management products which are coming through. There is a lot of work happening in EV, etc. So there may be specialized IT companies which may actually do quite well, but the general purpose IT services businesses, I think, are going to remain under some strain unless something changes dramatically. Also, the valuations for each of these companies, they are going to just about do double-digit kind of growth. They are trading at almost 2.5 times PE to G, PE to growth kind of thing, which doesn't leave too much on the upside, especially when you look at it in the global context. I mean, today TCS is trading significantly at a premium to Alphabet. Would you with a similar kind of earnings profile? In fact, Alphabet in all probability will grow faster than TCS, and it is cheaper than TCS on a PE basis. And there is no comparison in terms of the kind of moat they have around the quality of business they do versus what a TCS does. And I'm not singling out TCS for criticism. All I'm saying is that this is a story for almost all IT services companies. So I think that is a little bit more of a challenge. From a portfolio perspective, you cannot go completely out of it, but I would be still somewhat underweight in that sector.
Right. Sakshi, what we'll do is, now that only 12 minutes remain, let's just look at the Nifty. There are some signs that you just might see some great buying coming in tomorrow as well.
And Nifty Bank also, Shell, 51,000 for the first time on Nifty Bank.
बिल्कुल 2000 के ऊपर निफ्टी बैंक and the point that I want to mark on the Nifty is that we just might close above 23,300. It's a new name, it's a new number, it takes time to come back on the tongue. So the last 5-7 minutes of trade have been really good, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is possibly the fact that the Middle East as well as parts of Europe are now awake. They've seen the first 5-6 hours of trade. The Nifty has not slipped below 23,000, which essentially means that there is a new base in place, and it is now sort of closing substantially higher from the day's low, which was 23,097 something, and the Nifty Bank is doing a step further. Look at the percentage change, 4.2% on Nifty Bank, again day's high, and 3.35% higher on the Nifty. The Nifty Bank is also running up on 2 counts. We have the MPC, the Monetary Policy Committee meeting slated middle of the week, this one. So banks in any case are in top form. If you think 4.5% is higher, look at the Nifty PSU banking index, that's up 9%. And across the board, housing finance companies, anything related to finance, BFSI is strong double digits, especially power financing stocks, PFC and REC, Power Grid, NTPC. Sakshi.
Absolutely. It's the financials that are driving this very strong move. If we look at the top contributors on the Nifty right now, you'll see Reliance for sure is contributing about 130 or 131 points on the Nifty move today. Of course, because Reliance has also hit a new record high in trade today and has crossed that 3,022, which was the earlier record high as well. Right now also 5.6% higher in trade for this one. HDFC Bank is contributing 77 points to the gain being seen on the Nifty. L&T ICICI Bank, SBI, Axis Bank, these are the top movers, and of course the power related stocks, both NTPC and Power Grid, are also supporting the market move as well. Let's come back on SBI to Anand to really ask as to where do you see the stock headed. 9.3% higher, 907 right now. It's crossed the market cap of 8 lakh crore rupees, which means it's crossed the market cap of ICICI Bank as well. How would you really look at SBI now, Anandji?
I think this is no doubt the bellwether stock for the industry. It's still the largest market share player, and it's probably one that is technologically also fairly advanced as far as public sector banks go, and even among the private sector banks. So the best reach, the highest ability to get the liabilities that I was talking about earlier, the best profile in terms of lending to corporates. I think it remains a kind of pick that you can have without worrying too much about where it is going. In my own view, among the private public sector banks, SBI is the only one who knows how to do banking.
Wonderful. I think coming from Anand, who's one of the most cautious investors that I have seen over the last maybe 25 years, and he weighs his words in an invisible scale which is right there in his brain. Coming out with a recommendation on SBI at a record high itself speaks about the strength of the corporate balance sheet, as also Anand's confidence in it. So ladies and gentlemen, with much difficulty after 25 minutes, we've got Mr. Tandon to name at least one stock.
SBI.
I wouldn't call it a recommendation. I would still say that it's something that, if you are looking at the sector, it's something that you might want to keep on your radar.
Right, that's the closest you can come to recommending something.
Yeah, I don't think recommendations are good things to do, especially in public media.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Anandji, then tell us, for a fresh investor, of course, everybody who has been away is feeling FOMO like never before. Now, somebody looking at your advice saying that अच्छा ठीक है, अभी भी markets में बहुत तेजी बाकी है, मोदी 3.0 है, अगले 5 साल में कुछ ना कुछ तो काम होगा और ज़्यादा तेजी देखने को मिल सकती है. अब कहाँ पर पैसा बनेगा ये बताइए.
देखिए, पैसा बाजार में कहीं पे भी बन सकता है. सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि आपको अपना एक्सपेक्टेशन कम करना पड़ेगा. ये उम्मीद जो है कि लीनियरली 15% आपको बढ़त हर साल मिल जाएगी, ये नहीं होने वाला है. जैसे मैंने कहा, अगर आप निफ्टी का ही इंडेक्स अर्निंग्स ग्रोथ का फोरकास्ट देखें तो पिछले साल जो 24 तिमाही जो बंद हुआ था, उसमें द लास्ट क्वार्टर, उसमें ग्रोथ करीब इंडेक्स में 20% हुई थी ईपीएस की. अगले साल ज्यादातर एनालिस्ट का मानना यह है कि ग्रोथ इंडेक्स के लेवल पर अर्निंग्स की 10% के आसपास हो जाएगी. अगर अर्निंग्स की ग्रोथ आपकी आधी हो रही है तो जो भी आपको रिटर्न आएगा वो, अगर आप ये समझें कि मार्केट फुली करेक्टली वैल्यूड भी है, तो भी आपको अर्निंग्स के हिसाब से ही ग्रोथ आनी चाहिए. तो शायद इस साल आपको उतनी ग्रोथ ना मिले निफ्टी में जितनी आपको पिछले कुछ सालों में मिली थी. और ये कहना कि इसमें स्मॉल कैप और लार्ज और मिड कैप में बहुत ज्यादा बढ़त आएगी, मेरा मानना ये है कि ऑलरेडी वो 40% ज्यादा महंगे हैं निफ्टी स्टॉक से. तो उसमें भी थोड़ा सा आपको ये देखना है कि क्वालिटी आप सैक्रिफाइस ना करें और उसी कंपनियों में निवेश करें जहां पे आपको पक्का पता है कि यहाँ पर कुछ गड़बड़ नहीं हो जाएगा. तो इस मामले में ग्रोथ इंडिया में होती रहेगी, इसमें मेरे हिसाब से कोई दो राय नहीं. लीनियरली हर साल आपको 15% खटाखट मिलेगा, वो बिल्कुल नहीं होने वाला है. तो ये आपको, अगर आप ध्यान रख सकते हैं कि हाँ, मार्केट जो है करेक्शन मोड में जाता है, काफी गिरावट भी आती है बीच बीच में, लेकिन अगर अर्निंग्स स्ट्रांग रहेगी तो आपको पैसे बनते रहेंगे. उसमें ज्यादा आप मार्केट टाइम करने में ही पैसे ज्यादा लॉस होते हैं. तो आप निवेश करते रहें, एसेट एलोकेशन के ऊपर ज्यादा तवज्जो दें. अगर आपका एसेट एलोकेशन आपको रात को नींद आपकी हराम नहीं करता है, अगर आप आराम से सो सकते हैं तो वो सही है.
Right, Anandji. What we'll do is just mark a couple of indices and call it a day as far as this wonderful session has gone. Thank you so much for such prudent, honest and wisdom-laced advice when it comes to negotiating markets at a record high, as also euphoric high. We hope a lot of our viewers have taken note of how cautiously Mr. Tandon wants to progress in the remainder part of the year and of course throughout markets. Thank you so much, Anandji. It's always, as usual, a pleasure to have you, sir. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a fabulous, fabulous day. Such days come once every 5 years, and over the last 20 years, 3 of them have been positive. One was terrible. Today was also a fantastic day. Markets are almost trying to end at day's high as far as Nifty Bank is concerned. 4.5% higher, ladies and gentlemen, 2100 points. As always, this has been a blowout day across the board thanks to exit polls. Let's hope what the market has thought today will be in action tomorrow. That means that electoral results will be in sync with what exit polls say. Business Today tracks 19 indices for you, ladies and gentlemen. All 19 are up so wonderfully well in the markets today, led by the Nifty PSU Bank, record high, 8.5% higher. I can't remember the last time I saw an index up 8%. 8,018, all 12 stocks making the index are in the green, Sakshi.
The PSU index is also up 8%. So it's
CPSE.
two indices. Yes, so the Nifty PSE index is also up by 7.9% right now, nearly that 8% mark. Oil and gas index is up by 6.8%. Realty index is up by 6%. Infra is up by 6%. You have the Nifty Next 50 also up by 4.5%. Financial services up by 4.5%. So you name it. I mean, like, I think all the indices are closing higher for sure. There is none with losses. That is a big positive right now. And of course, it's the PSU stocks that continue to hog all the limelight, be it the energy names, be it the power names, be it the defense names or the railway names or Adani names. They have been the thick of
it would have been easier marking stocks that were in the red. One more point I want to make, which is that every index except for the FMCG and the IT index is at a record high, ladies and gentlemen. And today's rally will be put into perspective when we see the numbers of FIIs today evening. Remember, it's a blowout volume that I have seen as far as most active counters are concerned. 5,000 crores on SBI, an equal amount on HDFC Bank. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is one of those rare days where you see heavy price action coupled with very strong delivery statistics. 5,700 on SBI, 5,600 crores on HDFC Bank, Adani Ports and Adani Power more than 3,400 crores, and the list goes on and on. First 35 shares on the top traded list, Sakshi, are in the green. This is unbelievable and unprecedented. Actually, first 50 stocks are in the green. The lone dissenter is Zomato, down 2% at 175, below 1,000 crores, and I assure you it is giving an invitation to purchase.
To buy. Yeah, there were several questions on Zomato today. All of our viewers on daily calls, they were wanting to know, finally, isme kuch niche ka level aaya, khareed lein kya? That was the question that was coming in. So probably that is it. 2% down right now for Zomato. But that's how green the screen looks right ahead of the big D-Day tomorrow. We will now get to know whether the actual numbers will meet the exit poll numbers. Remember, the India Today Access My poll has on the upper end given that 401 mark to the NDA-led government. In case that happens, then you could definitely see the market extending this kind of a move, because that was a very bleak possibility. None of the brokerage houses believed that a 400 par could be a reality. Everybody was believing that 300 to 350 range is something that they would be seeing. Now, we'll keep an eye out on 400 and we will keep an eye out on the standalone BJP numbers as well as to how do they bring about.
And actually look at the Nifty, it's saying it will be beyond 400. 23,305 is the closing number, ladies and gentlemen. It speaks volumes about what the market is thinking. Remember, the first tick was 23,337. If there were another half an hour, we would have taken out that as well. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll call it a day. It's been a fantastic ride. Let's hope tomorrow's better.
Okay, well, many thanks, viewers, for being with us on Business Today.
Let's turn to Chhattisgarh, neighboring Jharkhand. But what are the numbers, Rahul, in Chhattisgarh, a state where just a few months ago